Okay, I believe we are live starting now.
All right, at 5:38, we are calling this meeting to order. I'm having issues with my computer because, hey, it's not been on for almost a week and a half, and I think there's a lot of updates that need to be done. So we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Are there any changes to the agenda?
Yes, I have one. Item 4, I need to add item E, consider the reappointment of Danny Black to another term.
Okay. Are there any other changes that board members would like to see? Okay. Well, if there are no further changes, is there a motion to approve the agenda as amended that includes item 4E?
So moved.
It's been moved by Danny. Is there a second?
Seconded.
It's been seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and the agenda is approved. We also have the minutes from September 22nd, 2021. If there are no changes, is there a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
I just have one. I have one correction to the minutes. We discussed work release, and it says the county jail, and I just want to clarify that we were talking about the state prison. I think it'd be wonderful to talk about the county jail sometime, but we were talking about the potential of possibly working with the state prison.
That is a good correction, and thank you for catching that. So is there a motion to approve the minutes with the correction of changing the reference from county jail to Orange Correctional Center?
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. And the ayes have it, and the minutes from September 22nd are approved as amended. Now to the TDA marketing plan, and I'll just pass it over to Shannon.
Yeah, so this is fairly straightforward. Let me try and get to it. So we have $13,000 in the TDA's marketing budget. I kind of broke this down by our annual continuous kind of things we have going on during the year. What we've done in the fall, winter, and then mainly the spring and the upcoming. The two things that I wanted to highlight that this board talks about specifically wanting was getting materials printed to go to the NC Welcome Centers. I was able to reach out with the Orange County Visitors Bureau and a representative from the NC Welcome Centers and talk about that a little bit. I'm hopeful that that's possible, but I'm going to have to do a lot more printing because they apparently go through a fair amount of materials. So I gave the $1,500 as a rough estimate to start. Having that first kind of 6 months, kind of see how many materials go through there will be a good gauge to be able to budget plan for next fiscal year. We're also going to have to probably print more materials if we're going to get stuff into short-term rentals. Right now, we usually print like maybe 2 cases a year. I'm thinking if we're not only refilling map holders, the holders at the hotels and the holders at the Sportsplex, if we start adding to the number of materials holders, I'm just assuming we're going to have to spend more money on printing to keep those full. And then we do have another about a little over $500 that I don't really have a plan for if you all would want to see that go somewhere. I think Danny at one time was talking about wanting to advertise with NC by Rail, radio silence from them, but I'm going to keep trying on that one. She brought it up and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot to do it. And I sent them another request and I was like, oh wait, because it was like, thanks for your second request. And I was like, oh, I guess I never heard back from the first one. So I'm going to keep on that. I'm sure they have some type of a marketing division. I may also reach out to Orange County Visitors Bureau. Maybe they have a connection there, or somebody with Visit NC has some kind of connection there to see what the opportunities might be.
It's a good idea, but don't hurt yourself, Shannon.
So how do we just like, I mean, I saw we ran the Share the Glow in the Roxborough Courier. How do you come to the decision to run in the Roxborough Courier or the High Country radio? Is that just something you've done in the past and you've seen some success?
Yeah, basically. And I think this board at one point wanted to explore doing some more advertising in Danville. And so that's where that Events magazine kind of came from. And I've heard from, just anecdotally, people that have seen that said that they saw the ad. So if you all know of a better or a different publication in any of these markets, in the Southern Virginia market, something you've seen or like, please do let me know, because I don't spend a ton of time in Danville, so I don't know what's really hitting that audience. A lot of it is kind of trial and error. Run it and see how it does.
So can you refresh my memory? Did we not increase the marketing budget a little bit so that we could tackle doing more for like Airbnb and the hoteliers in these rack cards and things, or did we just reassign the dollars? Which was it?
I think we increased the budget slightly for marketing to be able to do that. Yeah.
Okay. And have you ever, in terms of something like Our State, those kinds of magazines, I know that Orange County, I know that Chapel Hill Orange County Visitors Bureau is able to get things in there. I don't know, does she partner with us at all to take, to give Hillsborough or Northern Orange County a turn in what she puts over that way, or ask us to partner on the paying for an ad in that?
No, they generally run their copy that includes some type of a Hillsborough element, whether it be a photo or their logo has Hillsborough in it, but there'll usually be some Hillsborough element in the ads that they run. But no, they've never asked us to co-op, and those ads are really expensive.
Okay. Yeah, I know they are. I'm aware of that. I just, just trying to kind of see, are we got any coverage there or not? Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Well, if you all feel like it would be impactful, I can get those pricing sheets, and we could run and add, 2 or 3 ads a year and just see who's seeing them or what kind of impact we may be getting back from them.
Yeah.
At some point, do you have a spreadsheet or something that talks about what it costs to advertise and all these different things? Like, you do this all the time. I don't ever do it. So I know that Our State's going to be very expensive, but like comparing the Events magazine and
Southern Living.
I was actually thinking about like the Wilmington magazine, Greensboro, Charlotte, Raleigh, some of those like big city local
Asheville
things.
Yeah, that might be interesting. Go a little further, especially since we're trying to get them to do an overnight. So where Roxborough wouldn't really be an overnight, somebody coming in from Asheville, Charlotte would be looking at a weekend trip here probably.
Yeah. Or even like
I don't have
Wilmington and
I don't have a spreadsheet, but I can get together some pricing sheets for markets you wanted to explore. You said Asheville,
Wilmington.
Yeah, I think Wilmington, Charlotte, Greensboro, Raleigh.
Well, you could also go ahead. First of all, Shannon, I'm not sure at this point. I feel like you have 6 hats and your time is
No. Yeah, I don't think it's important to do all this right now. I think it's just, it would be good to collect this as
we could get an intern or something to help with this. But, even collecting from Richmond and Columbia and some of these other areas, again, going back to the idea, we're really trying to get weekend travelers in here, not just afternoon visitors.
And somewhat, I also think that it would probably be good, this would be a good maybe experiment, Shannon, if it's possible, because I know, Danville's, 45 minutes to the north of us. That's probably not an overnight trip. That is probably more of a day trip. I've actually encountered some folks who came down from Danville for the day. Richmond or Columbia or Greenville, South Carolina even might be an overnight trip. But it would also be interesting to see, and this I use this as an example because I know that they're in a North Carolina heavy media market, and that's Mecklenburg County, Virginia. And I wonder if we did some targeting there, if also that has some bleed over into North Carolina. I think Mecklenburg County is adjacent to Granville and Franklin and maybe Warren counties as well. So it pulls a little bit from Virginia, but then also would pull from that northeastern part of North Carolina that also has a lot of, to some extent also has a lot of colonial history, but that might appeal to folks to come a little bit westward as well.
I'm assuming High Country Radio is like Boone and that area.
Yeah, but that's west.
I just
I
wanted to
put
ask
together-
that question. I'm following what you're
Yeah.
saying and I'm not taking
Yeah.
anything away from, I'm just asking, oh, well, by the way, where are we hitting with the radio spot right now?
I think it would be fun, like if you did have an intern, Shannon, it would be really fun to even just map some of this stuff and think about the money and the travel and the, like, where our people are coming from and where are folks that might not have thought about Hillsborough overnight trips.
All right, I'm gonna make a note to check with our Ms. Braxton about interns.
All very good feedback.
Okay. And also maybe Chapel Hill Orange County Visitors Bureau may have already gotten some of this research.
They
I don't
may
know.
have, and they do a lot more of the southeast kind of
Yeah.
hitting the big
Yeah.
regional draws. So like they kind of bring people from the southeast in, and then we kind of try and get them to come over to Hillsborough
Yeah,
in some
tag off
respects.
of
But
there.
it may be worth circling back around with them on what their current strategy is, because what a lot of us did was kind of pivot less towards, trying to go after people in Virginia and DC, especially during COVID, and try and go after people more like Raleigh, Charlotte, because people just weren't traveling as far. There was a lot more uncertainty around COVID. So maybe just getting the pulse with them and seeing where they're at on their marketing strategy too is probably a good idea.
Well, from what I can tell, people are traveling, so.
I think they are using that interstate, that's for sure. I don't know how much they're
Lord,
flying.
everything is packed, man.
Yeah.
All right, any other feedback on marketing?
No, quick question though. I want to thank you for putting short-term rentals in there, and I really like that the one you did highlighting a couple of the very photogenic ones. How are we going to get those into people's hands? What's
And
that?
how will we rotate to feature others?
Yeah, I really like it though, Shannon. Thank you for getting that done.
Yeah.
That's a good segue, because I think that's the next thing we're going to talk about.
Okay.
So this was the rat card I did. You all asked for a rat card for short-term rentals, which I think is a really good idea. So I found 4 that I liked. So there's no scientific rhyme or reason. They were in 4 different parts of town. I thought they were all really cute. I haven't asked the owners yet if they're okay with me featuring them, so I'm gonna have to probably do that.
I promise they are.
I
If mine
assume
was
they
up
will
there, I
be.
would be beside myself. They would be very excited.
But
Do you know
never
what their
know.
rates are? Do you know if these are different rate levels or just, is it even more random than that? I mean,
I didn't check that,
okay. Just-
but I can. I'd say they're all pretty comparable. It'll depend kind of on whether it's a room versus a whole unit.
Well, that would be, to me, offering a range of opportunity would be important. So, yeah, okay.
But yeah, the first one is in West Hillsborough. The next one is kind of in central, in the historic district. The cabin is like south of town. It's still in town, but it's south of town. And then the Circa cottage is kind of down closer to Weaver Street, kind of on Margaret area.
Can I just tell you what one of the reasons this is super helpful is even now when you go onto Airbnb and you put in Hillsborough, you don't always find Hillsborough. You get a lot of Chapel Hill and Durham, and it just like it. I don't know how their algorithm works, but I'm like, where's the Hillsborough? So like, and it's interesting because if you're traveling someplace else, you don't think about that. If you don't know the area, you don't know what they're giving you. So it's great that you're focusing on a few properties actually in Hillsborough. Yeah.
And as far as distribution, I was going to add these to the visitor center and our information holders at Sportsplex. And I'm open to any other ideas that you all may have. It probably would be a good idea for that welcome center packet.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the chamber sends out information for people who want to visit Hillsborough, so
Chamber.
definitely let us have some. And does not UNC Hospital have any kind of kiosk for this visitor information?
I approached them about it one time and it was kind of like a we'll get back with you, don't call us, we'll call you thing. I think they're concerned about clutter and like if they let us do it, then do they have to let everybody, you know, like the new sales papers and stuff like that. But I can circle back around on that. That may ebb and flow depending on the administration.
Is there content on the back? And I can't remember where we landed. I know we talked about use of front and back, and of course there's a higher cost when you print the back, but then you're already this far into it. So, you know, doing the back to me makes sense, but I can't remember how we landed when we last talked on this.
I can't remember. I think at one time we talked about having the short-term rentals on one side and then the standard hotel stays on the back.
That sounds
And
right.
then
Yeah.
kind of,
Yeah.
you know, displaying both of them, just flipping once. You know, like you have two sections and you just put them both in.
Or, you know,
So
what
you'd
might
end
be
up with like the Colonial Inn, the Holiday Inn, and the Microtel all on the other side.
Mhm.
Yeah, we should totally do that. Mhm.
what might be fun someday too is we have such a robust annual calendar now that it might be fun to just put, like, if there were 8 or 10 or 12 highlights of the year. I'm not lobbying for you to change this, but just like when I think about the arts festivals and the Solstice Lantern Walk and the Last Fridays and the sometime it might be fun to combine
Yeah.
stays and the calendar. Yeah, this
So
is-
maybe do something like this, like rat card with the,
yeah, maybe, or just bullets, you know, maybe just bullets of January through December. Yeah, I don't know. This is fantastic. I just want to say you guys are doing a fantastic job with this stuff. You really are.
that's nice, but I couldn't do it without you guys, so. Need more ideas, more creative minds.
It does look good, Shannon. It really does.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, well, I guess next steps is for me to reach out to these folks, which I have to do anyways, because I'm going to ask them if I can put a information holder in their Airbnb. That I was looking at earlier. I was like, vertical or horizontal? Vertical or horizontal? These are the hard decisions we have to make.
I like the horizontal. You're talking about in the Airbnbs?
Yeah.
Well, you could, because on the kitchen counter, I could see that that horizontal more than the vertical. The vertical is going to fall over every time,
Yes.
you know, and the horizontal seems more stable. But I like it. Is that for the purpose of advertising what to do in Hillsborough once you've settled in like the restaurants and everything? Okay, yeah, that's really cool. I like that. Your map. Yeah.
I was thinking about ordering a few of each and letting the Airbnb host kind of pick.
Yeah.
And they may not want them. Like I have a book. I have a, you know, like a portfolio. So I would probably just put them in the portfolio. But I think even just, this is big steps, y'all. Thank you very much. Just from the Airbnb world, thank you.
What was our next? Oh, meeting schedule. Are there any other comments on the rat card? Are there any
None
comments
for
on
me.
the proposed meeting schedule for 22?
I have a distinct possibility of not being available May 18th. So it could, you know, go up to May 15th if we could do it a little earlier in the month. And I don't know how y'all feel about that, but just heads up.
I have something that might happen on May 17th. And we'll probably need as much time as possible. That may prohibit me from meeting earlier, but I am happy to meet later in the month in May. I know, let's see, that at May 18th, we have avoided any issues like Mother's Day or whatnot, but if we could do later in May before Memorial Day, that would be fun for me. But the rest of the days look good.
I don't believe I can make anything work the rest of that month. So I just rather just put that out there. It's unlikely. So.
Okay.
What about earlier, like May 4th?
Yeah.
Or Matt, does that not work for you? Is that
that
still
that would work? Just the closer to May 17th, you know, before May 17th would probably not work. Because the 18th should be a Wednesday. So like for me, the 17th and the 16th are no, but I could do early, before that for sure, anytime between the 1st and the, whatever the rest of the days are left in the month.
Do we want to try for May 4th? That's the first Wednesday of the month.
Works for me.
Fine with me.
Yeah.
All right. Make that change.
Yeah, May 4th would be fine.
Thank you. Thanks for working with me on that.
Do we need to do a formal vote for that, Shannon?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the meeting schedule for 2021?
So move.
So moved.
Okay, it's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. And I'm just saying, we're meeting in person on the 21st. Someone's got to bring birthday cake. So
Oh, on September?
yeah, my birthday's on the 20th.
Oh, you're gonna meet on your birthday? I'll bring cake. What kind do you like?
I'm really boring. Vanilla on vanilla.
Love it.
Are we on? So 2 questions. Are we going to return to in-person meetings? Or what, are we following a town policy? Is that what we're doing?
So originally we had discussed last month at our meeting that we would begin the process of having in-person meetings. Town staff had identified that in terms of participation from other advisory boards has been not where it had been previously, that participation has gone down. I don't know if that means people logging in or, just activity in meetings. And so there was a desire to move to in-person. I think with Omicron, there has been a shift. The town board next week will be meeting virtually. But hopefully after Omicron peaks and passes, we can have that conversation again. But the town board is talking about going back to in-person meetings. I don't think it's every meeting right now. I think it's every regular meeting we're having that discussion. So we are revisiting it. So the next time we talk about it will be on Monday. And then the next time after that should be that first meeting in February. So my hope is if things look clear, that first meeting in February, that in March, some of our advisory boards can go back to meeting in person.
And just a quick question. So I refresh my memory. We don't have a meeting in February. We just, what are we supposed to meet 4 times a year or something plus a budget meeting? Is that how it rolls? Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good because I think we can work with that with your next point here.
So even though that's a long range project, the performance venue feasibility next steps, I want to make sure that that doesn't get lost in the shuffle. And I think I misspoke at the last tourism board meeting and said that our next step was one thing. And Kim was like, whoa, wait, you missed a step. And I was like, okay, well, let me shut my mouth. We should probably talk about this at the TDA and make sure that we're actually going in the right order. I don't want to miss a step.
So you're right, because I think you were talking about moving on with potentially approving for feasibility study. And I personally would not be in favor of that without us spending time going over what has already been done. And so the last I knew, we were working towards trying to get, Danny was interested and Katie was interested. And I think maybe, I kind of sense that maybe Kathleen from the tourism board was interested as well. And so what I would propose is, since we don't have meetings but 4 times a year, maybe we can think about meeting to keep furthering the, kind of start exploring what's been done and, shape this into something on the off months from a tourism board, or sorry, TDA meeting. Those of us who are interested in working on that project. And I don't know how does that sit with you, Danny, but.
Yeah, I'll just say, I don't need to do this, but I'm happy to help and support and make sure that it moves forward because I think it's an important conversation. Yeah, and I think having sharing some information, those of you who've been working on it for a long time, would be a great next step.
So Shannon, is that something you want to participate in?
Yeah, I'll try and get with Katie and see if I can calendar something. I think she mentioned when she met with us, she had something big coming up, but would be available, have some capacity after that. And I'm sure that has passed now since that's been some time. So I'll reach out to her and see. She wants to kind of get an information sharing, like what have we already done, meeting
I think
kind of
she-
together with the
I think
various
she
groups.
did, yeah. Didn't she also offer to gather the information about what the different dance schools and things like that
Yeah.
are doing and spending and all of that? Yeah, okay. Yeah, there's a lot of intel that we just need to get pushed into a usable format.
Yeah, we had talked, I think we talked, or maybe I just dreamed this, about maybe pulling together a Google Doc to share the stuff that's already been done.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's true, yeah.
I think you're right.
Yeah. Probably for me, just because it's been crazy the last 6 months, and yeah, just a lot of things have been in flux. But for me, just to have a firm, like, okay, February the whatever, we're gonna,
Mhm.
we'll jump on a Zoom call and I'll have these documents in place for you to look at, or something like that, whatever the case is. Or for people who are willing, you come to the chamber and we'll just look at them and decide what's important to upload and shape it that way. That I'm open to either way. Well, it just depends on what y'all's comfort zones are individually.
Yeah, at this point, I'm laying low, but that may be different in February, but I'm happy to Zoom. I'm happy to plan a Zoom, and then if it looks better, we can meet in person. That's cool.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other comments on that item?
No, I think I'm good.
All right, our next item is reappointment of Danny Black to another term. Danny Black, will you serve another term?
I'd be happy to.
Yeah.
All
right, I think we need a motion or a nomination. Matt, you're the Roberts Rules guru.
Yeah, so we'll need to nominate. So you don't need a second for a nomination. So
Good, because we're all out of people.
I was gonna say we're out of people, and your chair can't technically make motions. So is there a nomination to reappoint Danny Black to a term here on the TDA?
It would be my pleasure to nominate Danny Black for
Thank you,
reappointment
Kim.
to the TDA.
And Danny, do you accept that nomination?
I happily accept.
All right. So then all those in favor, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Do I get to
And I'm
vote?
an aye as well.
Aye.
Any opposed? Doesn't matter if Danny voted no or not. We're going to nominate you. And we'll send that to the board. It should be on the board's agenda for the work session in January. If not, then very early February. But congratulations. Thank you for being here. You've been it's been great to have 3 people on the TDA. So thank you.
I'll share with you, Danny, the last meeting, I think, was it last month, tourism board, where we had to reappoint me or ask, whatever. I forget. I don't know why that went through tourism board reappointing me. I don't remember. You didn't have to fill that in, but I told him that I just really wanted to continue because I felt so excited about what we've planned, our plans, and that's really where Kathleen was like, "Well, what are y'all planning?" And I started talking about it, and she's like, "Oh yes, that is exciting."
That's cool.
It went through tourism board, Kim, because you are the tourism board representative on the TDA.
Okay, I'm confused because I could also be a tax
You're wearing
collector,
so many
or
hats.
tourism board, tourism advocate. I don't know.
All right, staff reports. Our gross occupancy looks a lot like our gross food and beverage, even though COVID's raging, the numbers are still pretty strong. And I sent you all an email with kind of a breakdown. I think you had asked for previously of like, okay, well, like how well is short-term doing? How well are the bed and breakfast doing? What are the hotels doing? So you could kind of see that information. And then, yeah, the numbers are pretty good. And everybody always looks at me and is kind of like, explain these numbers during COVID. I can't really explain them. other than I think that, something that Kim kind of touched on with travel is that people are traveling. I don't know how much they're getting in airplanes and traveling, but they're definitely cruising up and down the interstates, which I think really helps us, given our proximity to 40 and 85. So we're also seeing a lot of like backyard tourism, which is people who would have never come to Hillsborough, hear that the Colonial Inn is open again. And so they book a staycation or, something like that. People that maybe wouldn't have checked out downtown are now doing a short-term rental. So that's the only good explanation I can give, unless anybody else has any insight.
I mean, I think the other thing here, looking at the months and just tracking, people's activity in downtown, if you're out and about on a Friday or Saturday, I know, we don't release, by venue, their taxes collected for obvious reasons. You can figure out what they're making, and that's not something folks want to have out there. But I do think that, seeing the number of weddings I've seen and the fact that the Colonial Inn is also operating as a wedding venue, I think is one reason behind these numbers. They were not doing weddings during some of these months in the fiscal year. They just opened in last November. So I think that's a big piece. I mean, some of these wedding parties seem to be renting a lot of rooms, not just at Colonial Inn, but also in some of the Airbnbs and other places. And I think that's definitely speaking to some of these huge increases that we're seeing, particularly in, August, September, October. I anticipate when we see the numbers for November and December, they'll decline relative to FY21, but definitely think that's a big source of it.
And the other thing I included in your staff report was just some examples of some of the ads that we have run. The mural is done. I'm sure you all saw that. That was a TDA funded project. It turned out really good. I drove by the other day and saw people taking pictures in front of it, which is my favorite when we do these murals for placemaking and for tourism, to see people actually interacting with them and using them. And then we have launched the Sites, Lights, and Bites campaign. It would kind of do a soft launch because I noticed on Monday that a lot of our businesses decided to be closed for this week, which they totally have earned. I know a lot of them worked really hard over the holidays. So I think we're going to do a harder launch on that starting next week, just because I don't want to push people here when a lot of the shops and restaurants are closed. That just doesn't make sense.
Do you have a sense of, I know that last week there in particular, there was more closures than usual, but as far as I know, we're still, a lot of venues are really closed more than they were pre-COVID. So we're talking about a very abbreviated schedule. Even if they're open, they're still not open as much as they were. So is that factored in at all in the campaign, that you come over Wednesday, don't come Monday, Tuesday, or don't come for lunch, don't come for breakfast?
Yeah,
we're not. Messages call first.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're not pushing the Mondays, that's for sure. But
Right.
A lot of the businesses are closed all week this week, up and down Churton Street. So that kind of took, I was gonna start running the paid social media this week, and I was like, oh no, that's not gonna work out, because every other Facebook post is like a business like, hey, our staff needs the week off, see you next week. And I'm like, oh, well, I'll wait till next week. But yeah, we won't run any paid social on Monday. We'll probably run those later in the week, Wednesday, Thursday.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I think now most of the market knows that you probably need to double check and make sure the stuff is open before you go. But that's a good note to maybe kind of include some type of a disclaimer, a note on social media, call before you go, or check the website before you go.
But well done, Tim.
How about check the website for the most current hours or something?
Yeah.
Sounding positive.
Exactly.
Not don't come until you call.
Because I've seen the most surprising businesses I never expected to see this from. And I'm talking about clients and friends across the state. I'm like, really? Yeah. People who are like, we're not open tonight. We're not open tomorrow. We're not open this weekend. And it's part of what's happening. And I think it's a sea change for us to recognize that as customers, to say, it's not the end of the world. It's possible they might not be open tonight or tomorrow, and learning to check. But the other thing that does is, drives people to your social media too, right? So that's not a terrible thing in that regard.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, but but that requires definitely making sure everything's up to date and everything. I was out of town on a vacation and thought about going to an establishment. Google told me they were closed. Facebook told me they were closed. Their website told me they were closed. I was on a tour, saw they were open. The tour was over. I walked in and I said, I'm glad y'all are open. I wanted to try you out, but everything told me you were closed. So that's another big part is, having all these things updated and making sure who has the credentials to update them and that you're doing it regularly too. So
The Wild West, it's really hard.
because a lot of folks aren't going to pick up the phone. They're going to look at Google and assume Google or Facebook's correct too.
Yeah, right,
So,
man. Yep. Hey, as long as we're talking about promotions and exciting things, I just want to say, Kim, the gingerbread house experience, like I experienced it as a tourist because I just happened to be walking around town late one night and I was like, oh yeah, the gingerbread houses. So I made a point of doing it was really, really cool. Very, very cool.
Well, I wish we could take credit for that, but we kind of let that go last year over to whatever what's her name? I'm sorry.
Megan Carmichael,
Yeah,
Caldwell
Megan
Banker, and then
Carmichael.
I think she partnered up with Aaron Campbell Creative. There's a couple of sponsors.
Wasn't the chamber involved though? I thought I saw
No,
your...
no, we only helped
promote it.
promote it. We did it for several years trying to get it off it, to bring it back because it used to be a thing. And so we thought it'd be good to bring it back as part of the Hometown Holiday Festival. And, we tried to incorporate it in the many things to do in Hillsborough. And since nobody else was running it, we were running it for, I don't know, 4 years or so. And then last year, there was a reach out on, hey, how can we do this? And Megan really wants to take it. And Megan's actually not a chamber member. So it's like, okay, well, I don't think the chamber has to hold this. Just, you know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't, if somebody wants to do it and she's doing a good job with it, why should we fight about it? Like, that's fine. I just want somebody to do it. It needs to be an offering in town. And so we passed it over to her and they've done a phenomenal job with it, especially this year.
You must have shared it or something at some point because I actually Yeah. I definitely.
We did include it in our hometown holiday, promotion of, okay, don't forget this thing to do. Mm-hmm. And we would normally not do that for a non-chamber member, but during the hometown holidays, we open it up for just any reason to come to Hillsborough. So we definitely help.
I appreciate it. Nice.
Yeah,
the tourism program promoted it heavily too, especially because it was so cool. So we, after the tree lighting, I went around and took some pictures and dropped some social media just to get people to be like, hey, look how cool this is. Here's one, there's 20 more. Can you find them all?
Yeah.
So yeah, they did a great job. I mean, some of those entries, I can barely bake chocolate chip cookies. So that was truly impressive. Like I thought about entering it. I'm glad I didn't because I would have embarrassed myself. So I'm really glad that they did such a great job with it.
Yeah.
She managed to attract some very talented gingerbread artists, and they are out there. Because you can see that over in Chapel Hill at that inn there that they've got gingerbread. And we never were able to do that because we just didn't have the bandwidth with everything else we were doing, and we didn't start early enough. Gingerbread artists wanted you to know about this in September, and oh yeah, the gingerbread. So it's definitely a win to get that, in the hands of Megan, and she's. As a realtor, I think it makes sense for her own marketing, to be doing gingerbread houses.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well done.
Here's a good example of something pretty impressive.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, they were great. I don't know what the theme behind them was. I don't know what their criteria when they set it out, because these were very elaborate structures. So I wondered if there was some sort of theme they were asked to follow because I didn't pay close enough attention. Maybe y'all know, but
I think it was like your favorite place around the world.
Okay.
Favorite building around.
Okay. Yeah. Cool.
Any board comments?
I wanted to just mention, circling back on this problems that we're having with, just not enough staffing for hospitality and travel and leisure, and well, really anything, to be honest, just any category. People still on my board, every sector says there's not enough people, coming to work. But I had some conversations along the way in the last, say, 6-8 weeks where people were kind of, saying, well, what happened to the teenage and young adult market? Like, where have they gone? You know, those workers are not coming back, because that's where a lot of times you would see for wait staff or working at Target, the retail, you know, those kinds of industries is usually where you have a teenager or, you know, college student. Why are they not coming back? And I don't know the answer to that unless the parents are just concerned about COVID. But I did, when I was in South Carolina, hear a radio campaign that I think I would like to investigate more. And then maybe there's room to work partner through Chamber and the Visitor Center or Chamber and Economic Development Office, Shannon, I don't know. But it was basically an ad, a radio campaign, and they were promoting the importance for resume building and life skill building of young people having a job. And it was geared towards parents. You know, hey, parents, do you realize what your children will gain by having a work experience before they leave home? And this talks about all the things that make, you know, help build that individual's skill set and, you know, gets them ready for life. And I was like, yes, you know, I want to know more. And how can we like tag onto that? You know, the chamber can message that out, certainly. But, you know, when in the fight to get some help for the hospitality and the hoteliers and the people who are paying, you know, these taxes, just some other thought, because I think we kicked around, what could we do to help? Wasn't that the last meeting that we were talking about some ideas, and pretty much we run into problems with not being able to give businesses taxpayer money to, I think we talked about helping with bonuses, sign-on bonuses, and we can't really do that. I don't know if we can help with some messaging about, you know, the value of young people holding a job in the workforce.
I think that's important, but I also think it's important to acknowledge that part of the reason that people have left a lot of retail and front-facing jobs is because it's so much harder and uglier than it ever was before. People are just being mean to people, and that's not over yet. It's still a thing that people are just like, I could take this job, but I might get sick, and people are being mean and ugly to me, and I have to enforce rules I don't want to enforce. And it's really thankless in hospitality these days. And
so, yeah, I agree that it's probably, you know, there's a good reason why right now it's a fight, but I also think there's a lot of discussion about this variant causing, maybe hopefully as we obtain some herd immunity, because so many people are catching, you know, these things, or they're getting vaccinated. And so if we kind of think about, you know, second or third quarter, it's time, you know, come on back, and here's the reasons for it.
And maybe we talk about it in a new way, which is part of what I'm working on with a lot of my clients, is talking about this stuff in a new way. As well, it's a new way, and it's also an old way to talk about the vocation of being in service, right? That it's, and we haven't trained generations of people for that. We've had a lot of throwaway jobs where kids will bounce around, they don't, you know, and this idea that working in service is a calling, and it's, you know, that skill set that you build of dealing with the public and how you handle those difficult interactions is something that maybe we want to acknowledge in some way. And
I like that.
There's no training for that. There's no.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good idea too.
And some PSA messaging. My years of service in hospitality very well prepared me for customer service in local government.
I'm sure.
And I have no problem. We run a campaign that says, meet Shannon Campbell. Here's what she has to say about.
I actually think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
I you know, if we had brief interviews with people, like what did your training and service mean to you professionally so many years later? That's a great idea. That's a great story to be told. I'm
about to put it down on my little,
Well, yeah, because it's a ton of people. I mean, that's a lot of people's first jobs. I was talking to our new tourism board member, Victoria, earlier today. We were kind of joking and lamenting about our days in high school and college when we were, you know, flinging barbecue and beer and waiting tables for extra cash.
Yeah. And the fact is, those folks can really write their tickets now. They can make better money than they probably have ever made before, right?
Right. I mean, the discussion is not now that you're not making any money at this job. That's not the discussion anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're redoing the newsletter, our formatting for the newsletter, and we're going to have a section that's kind of geared to news you can use, and kind of talk, you know, and try to find out, you know, talk to businesses about what they felt helped make them successful, what their obstacles were, what advice they give others. But this would be another area we could go into in terms of helping, you know, having conversations about the value of these service industry jobs, you know, or any kind of workforce development stuff could be channeled through that.
It's kind of interesting, and I don't want to use up all the time, but it's kind of interesting that the sector that we have the most difficulty filling now, where the jobs are most readily available, is the thing that we have the least training for in school. We don't train for service. We don't train for retail. We don't train for service.
Right.
Unless, yeah, I mean, I can't think of really anything. And yet right now it's the biggest need and the most important thing and the hardest thing to do well.
You can learn to weld, but you can't learn to work a POS.
That's right. That's right. And it's trainable. I mean, you and I, we all know that you can train.
Oh, yeah.
But we're not doing it, you know? And so, yeah, that's interesting.
More ideas.
Yeah.
That's why you're staying on this board.
I'm full of great ideas for other people's work.
That's awesome. Hey,
Any other-
Leader Matt.
I was just going to say, if there are no other member comments, then it would be in order for us to adjourn. And if so, there's a motion to be made.
So moved.
So we moved. Is there a second?
Seconded.
So moved and seconded. All those in favor, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and we're adjourned.